Hello, comic fans. Here's Gray, and this is my little haul for the month of July 2026. On the left-hand side, we have stacks with, or one stack, but quite a heavy stack with comics in German, but the rest are comics published in English. And since this is some substantial kind of stack here, I figured I do this once again in English as well. Usually for the last couple of months, I have to admit, I do these kind of videos on my German channel als Waschmaschine. And hopefully the AI is up to translating my German ramblings into somehow finer English. To be honest with you, for the moment, I can't bear to hear my beautiful German voice in some goofy kind of AI translation. And I'm the first one who is angry about the whole AI development and how it ruins art. But I'm a bit sacrimonious, is this the right word, about it when it's beneficial to my German channel, or maybe to you. Hey, why not? So yeah, short, not so short plug for my German channel als Waschmaschine. But now let's start with the comics in English language. And with these three here, for different reasons, I haven't read them already. I have read the first issues of Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre. What happens in this book here is actually in the title. Totally overacting, crazed out nonsense with hippos and massacre and cocaine, and it's very, very goofy, and I have to read the first issues before I read the last. So same is true for Spirit of the Shadows. A story of one guy between here and there, and with there I mean the realm of death, in a very colorful way. And here even more, I have to read the predecessing issues before I read the last issue. So these books came out a while ago, so no surprise for you, I guess. Saga, the deluxe, or however they call these books, collection by Image, number 4. I will not read Saga before all the stuff will have come out in the future, because the cliffhangers of Saga kill me. So no way that I will look inside this book, and I will keep my hands over my ears for the next years to come, to not be spoiled who dies and who survives and whatnot. I've read the first two books of Saga, these collected editions, so I'm more than just convinced that Saga is a great comic, and I will enjoy the whole series. So, Good as Dead, from the creators of Stray Bullets, one of my favorite comic series of all time, David Lapham and Mariah Lapham. Well, it's not Stray Bullets. It's still a good comic, very action-packed, about a bridge somewhere in America. And yeah, very dense, sometimes a bit hard to read for me. Maybe this is because, well, as you can hear, English is not my first language. And and somehow the craziness in this book is over the top. But hey, I get this in the news. I mean, a country in which the Joker literally is the president. So maybe I can jump to this fine book here. That's not literature, it's not fiction, this is reality. And so I don't know if Sean Murphy had this in mind when he created The White Knight, which I've read after years since it's actually out. But I absolute edition trade weighted on this one here. And I'm rewarded big time with this beautiful slipcase. And it contains not only one time The White Knight by Sean Murphy, written and drawn by Sean Murphy, but 2 times. Because, yeah, let's start with this book here. This is a black and white edition, which is just sublime. I mean, you know how much I love comics who are just in black and white, and Sean Murphy's art in oversized and in black and white is just a joy to look at. The story is very good, even though, as I said it's hard to compete with the reality that we can witness each day with your fine leader and all his henchmen. But I don't have to summarize the story of the White Knight, I guess. In the meantime, it's common knowledge. So yesterday I read the whole story here and was very satisfied, but blown away by the art, I have to say. And so it's one of the most beautiful publications in terms of Batman in my collection. And yeah, this is a neat gimmick as well. You have a pocket here in the back of the colored version, and there's a blue, how do you call it, blueprint of the Murphy Batmobile mobile. Belongs the other way around. So yeah, very neat gimmick. And so yeah, wonderful publication, wonderful book. Next in line is a stack of my subscription with Koshchei, an anthology about, or with the theme of flowers, funny, artsy, interesting stuff throughout, and some mini comics. Not each of them blew me away, I have to be honest, but still it's always joy and fun to see just what they produce over there in Riga and send to me. Then something by Rich Tomasso, a mad spoof, or spoof on mad, with yeah, satire, nonsense stories through different genres like horror, sci-fi, romance, and western, and in slightly different art styles, but it's all Rich Tomasso, who I really cherish and love, especially when he does these little one-off thingies here, published by Floating World Comics. Then we have a new book by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, 5 Gears in Reverse. Some kind of Bonnie and Clyde story around Ricky Lawless, the son of Teague. Ricky Lawless was more a side character in the bigger criminal verse so far, but here he gets full stage to yeah, to drive 5 gears in reverse and probably, hopefully, to survive despite of really brutal odds. Mike Mignola, together with Ben Steinbeck, I always want to say Steinbeck, but he's Steinbeck, whenever these omnibuses from the Hellboy universe came out, I'm always game. Maybe not too far in the future. I have to stop this because my shelf won't carry these beautiful books. But Koshchei the Deathless is really a good argument to continue, because even though this is a very side character, at least in my book, it's a very interesting one. He meets here Hellboy in hell, so we're in the end of the timeline when Hellboy is already in hell. This Koshchei dude has been tricked by the Baba Yaga, so East European myths play a big role in this comic here. We even get a bit of Mignola drawing action. Wait, if I can find it here. Which is always great to see. But I have to say, Ben Stenbeck is really the man. He evolved art-wise, even though he was always solid. But I think this is even an improvement on his art skills and delivery. So, about this huge tome, I did recently a video, so I don't have to tell you how much I like this one here. And it contains 4 full comic books with Spidey. I made this mistake and said it was just Amazing Fantasy number 15. There are 3 more. And lots and lots of other pages and art by Steve Ditko. Watch that video to get a deeper look inside this beautiful book by Act 4. But now to the comics that I've got the last month and that have been published in German. And quite a lot of them, as you can see, but none of them has been, or I guess will be, published in English. Most of them are available in French, some of them maybe even in Spanish or so, but English, no way. Sorry for that. So it's just for your interest. What are you missing? I mean, most of these comics are reprints of older comics, so they have a bit of nostalgic flair. Like Sammy and Jack. This is a series comics that have been published originally in the early 70s. Drawn by Berg, Belgian comic artist, and written by Convin in typical Franco-Belgian funny style, about these bodyguards called Sammy and Jack, who are very trigger happy, even though they're the good ones, a bit like cops. But there are lots of explosions and fun times, and nobody is being killed, since these are stories made for the magazine Tintin, which was aimed at, or is aimed at, young ones or young adults, how you would call them today. So, pretty entertaining, bit repetitive, but if you like this kind of stuff, it's neat. So I have even some comics here by a German comic creator named Erik. Erik had this created this detective called Dede, and in a very own art style, like you can see here. He is classic detective stories, even though this story here is not so classic. It's about guys whose skull is blown up in the middle of the city. And our detective Dede has to solve this case here. And then we have by Erik as well 5 album series, and each of these albums contain 80 pages, and it's a very obscure and even underrated, completely underrated story with 3 goddesses of destiny or fate, from the mythic beginnings through the Roman Empire, through the Middle Age, up to 1928, and it's about engines of the apocalypse, crazy doctors, human craziness of all sorts, and a real trip in 5 albums. Highly recommended. Started as a webcomic, 400 pages of comic goodness. Comic draughtsman a cartoonist that I really like is Eddy Paape, and this is a somehow obscure series by him, Tommy Banco, a stuntman, and it's a genre comic, adventures that have been told in similar ways through other creators a dozen times, I'm afraid. But I like Eddy Paape, and I really want to read everything by him. So that's the reason for me. If you're not a fan of Eddy Paape, who drew Luc Orient, for instance, probably this is not for you. Same is true for this collection of early short stories by Hermann, who died recently, and I'm a big fan of Hermann, so I want to see, he drew Comanche, he drew a lot of other stuff, and the Towers of Bois-Maury, one of my all-time favorite. And here you can see how he became the great storyteller that he was. But it's really just for the Hermann fan. A series I've recently discovered, even though it's a series that has been there for a long time and still ongoing, The Adventures of Theodor Pussel. And this is the most recent edition, but another album will come out in the future. It's a bit like if you're a fan of or like Corto Maltese. This is a modern version of that in a way, even though it plays in the same historical setting, but it's a new take on these kind of adventures. Then we have the second album in the series of the adventures about the adventures of private detective Brian Bones, written by Rodolphe and drawn by George van Linthout. Brian Bones is a detective specialized on car accidents, and more often than not surprisingly, it's not really an accident he has to deal with, but some kind of crime scene. And always a different classic car is involved. So yeah, a modern ligne claire adventures with which does everything and which does everything to create the old ligne claire atmosphere, and I really dig this. Then I have here Jerome Bloche, which is translated in German as Jackie Kottwitz. There has been an attempt, I guess by Dark Horse, but maybe I'm mistaken, to translate Jerome Bloche into English. And the very first 2 albums, maybe I think, have been translated obviously, they weren't a success over there in America, which does not surprise me, because the very first two albums are not as good, by far not as good as the later comics, who break my heart almost all the time. They are sad and funny at the same time. The characters are the most real and beautiful comics that I know of, maybe with the exception, you know me, of Love and Rockets or so. But they're very, very, this universe, it's not a universe, but this world of Jerome is very, very real, very close to my heart. It's in one arrondissement in Paris, and yeah, it's really, I really beg you English publishers, try it again to publish Jerome Bloche in English, but don't start with the first, let's say, 4 albums. Maybe start with album 5 in collected editions. Give the people these beautiful comics here. Some of Franco-Belgian best stuff, I think, and they're even underrated here in Germany. So Phoenix Comics here, the publisher, the German publisher, is a quite small one, but I can't praise them enough for publish these comics over here. So that's all for now. My little haul for the month of July 2026. Thanks for listening and watching. Goodbye.